In this second video in the series, I'm going to walk you through the steps for building a new vApp using vCloud Director, and once that's done, I will add a new machine to that vApp. So here we are in vCloud Director, and I'll use the Tools icon here to add a new vApp. And we want to build a new vApp. And I have to supply a name here. TS632 is the course code for this class, so I'm going to use that, and I will call this TS632 TSM4VE71. That way, when we're finished with this process and we add it to our vCloud Director catalog, we're using a naming convention that'll make it easier to find later on. Just something that makes sense. Take a few seconds to create our new vApp. Let's take a look at what we've got here. So there's nothing here, just a blank vApp. And the first thing I want to do is add a network for the vApp. And it's going to be a vApp network. I'll click Next. And you can see the subnet that we're going to use here. 192.168.63 is the subnet. And it's important that you use the subnet because we need the vApp to match the reality of the exercise guide that the students will be using. So you can see here we've supplied the gateway address, the mask, and the range for IP addresses. Our network needs a name. I'm just going to call it 63 net. And everything looks fine here, so I will click Finish, and it'll take just a few seconds for it to build that network for us, and there it is. Okay, so now that we've got our vApp and we've given it a network, the next thing we want to do is use the Actions pull down here and add a new virtual machine. And I'm going to go ahead and start with the easy one. That's going to be our ESXi 5.1 machine. So I'm going to select New Virtual Machine and give it a name. Now, if you have a suitable ESXi 5.1 machine in your vCloud catalog, that's fine. You can go ahead and use that. You don't have to build this from scratch, as long as you can go ahead and make all the necessary adjustments to that sort of baseline machine. But I am going to go ahead and demonstrate the process for building a new ESXi machine from scratch for those of you who may need to do that in your environment. So here you can see we've given it a label, and we've chosen the operating system, the number of CPUs. I'm going to give it 16 gigs of RAM, and we'll need 2 hard drives, but the first one's going to be 40 gigs. We'll come back later and add that second hard drive to this machine once it's built. Everything here looks fine, so I'll click OK. This will take a few seconds. Okay, so our new vSphere 1 machine has been created. And let's take a look at the properties. So we've got our name and our description, and now that now we can go ahead and pick the operating system from the list here. Take a look at our hardware tab. And we're ready to add that second hard drive that we need. This only needs to be 8 gigs, so I'll make that change. We can scroll down and take a look at our networking. So we need to add a network, and we want it to be connected, of course. There's that 63 net that we built a few minutes ago. And we're going to use static manual as the IP mode and give it a static IP address, 192.168.63.37. Here, and it'll take a minute to update this. Okay, so now we need to install the operating system, and the easiest way to do this, of course, is to insert the operating system CD from the vCloud catalog. So I'll scroll down here and find the image that I want to use. Here's our VMware vMvisor installer 5.1. So I will insert that into the virtual machine's virtual drive and go ahead and power it on. Give it a second to start. And we can go ahead and bring up the console by clicking on this icon. Let me get these windows arranged so we can see what's going on. And if we did everything correctly, it should boot from that CD that we inserted. And the operating system installation should begin for us here. So now our new machine is powered up and ready to begin the installation. And there's nothing real special about this. We're just going to, this is just going to be a typical installation of ESXi 5.1. We're going to choose that first disk, the 40 gig drive, to install the operating system on. And we'll select our keyboard layout, and then we need to supply our root password, and of course you will find that in the Lab Setup Guide companion document for these videos. Confirm that we do indeed want to install ESXi. And here I'm going to cheat just a little bit and I'll compress the video so we don't have to sit through this. In the real environment it takes about 12 to 15 minutes for this process to complete, but I can go ahead and speed things up here so we don't have to sit through that. Installation is complete, and we need to restart our ESXi 5 machine. It'll take a few seconds for this machine to reboot, and then we'll continue with the process. So here if I scroll down, you can see we're going to hit F2 to customize the system. Again, just a typical install of ESXi. Login name is root, and again the password that you'll find in the companion document. So we've configured our password. Now we need to set our network adapters. So our IP configuration, and we're going to use a static IP address. And we entered these earlier in the vCloud director interface, but that's just a label. We still have to go in here and customize the system and put this IP address in here. So our IP address, our net mask, and then our default gateway. Little typo here, let's correct that. And now everything looks correct. Okay, IPv6, we're going to go ahead and disable IPv6. And we'll restart our machine. So, this machine will take a few seconds to restart. Looks like everything's fine. So we'll go ahead and close this console and go back to our vCloud director interface. And we have created a new vApp, we've added a network, and we have created our first virtual machine.